So if you thought the credit crunch here in the United States might have bottomed out, think again. What's always tricky is placing market falls in context. What do they tell us about the way ahead? That's a task we asked Margo Thorning. She's the chief economist at the American Council for Capital Formation to help us with.
It is a serious problem because the credit markets are really in turmoil. Investors and people around the world are fearful that if Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac were to go under, the housing market in the U.S. would just collapse because those two institutions provide about 50% of all residential mortgages here. So that was enough. The fear that they might be allowed to go under was enough to really send markets into turmoil. And then the need that the Fed saw to buy out IndyMac in California also added to the instability. So,
for people watching across the world, they will think of the subprime housing crisis, the ripple effect it's had across the world, all kinds of consequences, and they will be very worried hearing that once again it's the housing market that is causing all the alarm.
Well, I don't know that the housing market has gotten any worse in recent weeks, but the investors are not certain about the viability of institutions that are key mortgage lenders. What we need to see, I think, is some assurance by the Fed and perhaps by other institutions that these two major forces will not be allowed to go under, and perhaps by providing perhaps a year's worth of support or implicit guarantee that they won't be allowed to go under. Credit markets need time to recover. They also need to see increased regulatory oversight, more transparency in the credit markets. Once people and investors begin to have confidence that we're moving toward regulatory reform, that the Fed is not going to let Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac go under, I think things will begin to settle down. I don't think it has, I believe the U.S. economy will respond positively if those changes are put in place.
So what are the signs we're seeing from the White House, from the Treasury, from Congress?
We're seeing signs of cooperation. We're seeing the Treasury working with the Fed, with the Democrats and the Republicans in Congress, and of course in consultation with the administration to come up with a plan for regulatory reform. And I'm certain they're working on a plan to assure investors that Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac will not be allowed to go under.
Dr. Margo Thorning speaking to me earlier.